Hey friends, I'm Kim.
And I'm Kasey.
Today we are kicking off a new segment on our channel called Questions We Get Asked All the Time. Also, technically could be known as Frequently Asked Questions, but why am I calling it that? Because I want to.
It's our channel, not
It's
yours.
our channel. It's our channel. Okay, so for our first question that we get asked all the time,
Definitely.
Kasey, it is, do I need a computer science or computer engineering degree to get a software engineering job straight out of college? Wait, on three, let's say our answer and see if they match up.
Okay.
Okay.
Hit me.
1, 2, 3.
No. Absolutely not. I absolutely understand why we get asked this question all the time, though.
Yes.
So for reference, Kim and I attended and still teach at the University of Washington, where the computer science degree is what we would call a closed major.
Yes,
And
where you have to
yeah.
apply to get into the major because there's so many people who want to study it. There's not enough space for everyone, so it's a competitive application process.
Yes, and you might be in a similar situation where either like the department is closed or it's really hard to get into the school of your choice to study computer science and get specifically a degree that says computer science or computer engineering.
It's a really popular major right now, right? Because the jobs are so great, the pay is really super solid. Like, people be wanting it.
It totally makes sense. And frankly, it is the future of how our society is built. But the reality is that the industry that's hiring for these skill sets is moving at a much faster pace than the academic institutions. And so the number of positions for students that are available is just way fewer than the number of open roles.
Yeah.
Like if companies hiring software engineers only hired people with that degree, thousands of jobs would just sit open. So not only do you not need a degree, it is actually essential for the companies to go outside of that and find other...
The demand is certainly there.
Definitely.
The demand is there. And I would say that a lot of departments are doing a pretty good job of offering additional computer science courses that students can take that aren't in the major. So like, for example, at the University of Washington, you actually teach data structures and algorithms for non-majors.
Yes.
And I know that we have a databases class. I want to say we have a higher 400 level algo class.
We do.
Maybe even, do we offer...
We have databases, machine learning,
that's what I
web
thought too.
programming. And so what these courses are is our department recognizes that the computer science degree is actually extremely theoretical. And a lot of 4-year top 10, top 20 schools, their computer science degree, Carnegie Mellon, MIT, things like that, those are actually pretty theoretical degrees, and they're a really great fit if you want to be a software engineer or if you want to go and be a PhD.
Research, that sort of thing.
But if you want to create code, write code for production or
in the industry,
create products, there's so many other majors. You know, at the University of Washington, my degree is not in computer science. I have an electrical engineering degree.
We actually have we know a ton of people with electrical engineering degrees that that have gone on to do like hardcore software engineering roles.
Yes, and even that line is a little blurry. Like my degree in a lot of schools is technically part of the computer science department, so on and so forth. But there's also lots of degrees like informatics, data science,
honestly,
applied math,
any of the engineering degrees.
Any engineering degree. And like ultimately, I actually have lots of colleagues that have totally non-technical degrees. Communications, English, history, biology.
Because the thing is you can pick up those skills outside of the classroom.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be easier or easy. I mean, in general, it's not easy to get a job, but there are going to be some extra hurdles that you're going to have to jump through in order to prove or demonstrate that you have the ability to code.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason this question comes up so much is that if you're at, say, a large institution, a lot of the advice coming at you is sort of targeted towards the average case or like the scale case. And so your academic advisors would be like, well, the companies you're talking about working for, they attend the computer science job fair. And the reason they go to the computer science job fair is those companies are playing the numbers game. Like, oh, the highest percentage of people that are probably interested in these jobs and can pass our tech interviews are here. So it's a little more like there's a system that's set up for the sort of average scale path, but that by no means is the only way to get where you're going. But to Kim's point, you might have to say, chase after a few more opportunities than let them come to you.
Because at the end of the day, right, like you are going to be competing with other people who are getting computer science and computer engineering degrees for the same jobs. You are doing that. But again, to kind of bring it back, there are so many jobs that companies are willing to look outside of folks getting those degrees, because it's just, before you're even 50% done hiring, you've already exhausted all of the folks that are getting degrees and graduating that year. So the demand is there. Yeah. Maybe you're not the first person to get targeted, but I mean, like, some job is better than no job. It could happen eventually, right? So
there's many routes up the top of the mountain. And to Kim's earlier point, you can pick up these skill sets on your own. You can do it online. You can do practice outside of class. It's not like a wet lab type of degree where you really can't do it yourself.
That's right. You just need your laptop.
You just need your laptop, which is amazing. And the other thing that's really nice too is, honestly, the computer science degree, I think, really only helps with the initial getting the interview part. Once you're past the recruiter phase, like once you're, say, in an interview with me, I don't care what your degree is at all, because I'm about to ask you to code live in front of me, which is a really unique opportunity to demonstrate your skills that other industries just don't have.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, if you look at the amount of time that the way that an interview is set up, and we have a video that goes over what a typical technical interview looks like, but they maybe spend like 10 to 15% of the interview asking about past experiences, asking about your background, and really that's just to warm you up for the interview. Yeah. What they really want to see is that demonstration of skill. And once you get to that demonstration of skill part, I mean, you're on equal footing with everyone else at that point in the process.
So what your actual degree says is really just about getting that initial offer to interview. And so if you don't have computer science on your resume, Kim, what are your tips to make sure?
Yeah, I was just about to transition to that. It's like, okay, well, how do we make sure those folks that are doing that are trying to optimize? I would say first and foremost, make it really clear that you want that software engineering job, right? Like, let's say if you're a dance major, drama major, comms major, which amazing, beautiful, we love it, gorgeous.
We need you. We need art.
We want it. You want to make it really clear on your resume, like, hey, like, I am going for software engineering roles. And typically, I don't usually say that the objective, a statement on your resume that specifically says what you're looking for is necessary for computer science students looking for software engineering jobs, because it's really obvious.
That's kind of assumed.
It's almost like assumed, right? But if you aren't studying computer science or computer engineering and you are going for software engineering jobs, then just put that as like the first, big line on your resume to make it really clear. In addition to that, I would say be explicit about any of the formalized training that you have dedicated towards, CS material, right? Like, again, for someone who is getting a CS or CE degree, I don't recommend that you list the classes that you've taken, because it's, again, obvious that you've been taking those CS classes. But, if you are somebody who is a bio major and also taking, a full load of like CS classes on top of that to kind of fill that gap, like, absolutely, we want to see that time that you're dedicating. And it doesn't just have to be these formalized classes at your institution. It could be like on, Code Academy or what is it? Coursera. Yeah. Like, those other places where you're able to find other content. But be really explicit about really the amount of time and what are the things that you've been doing to build up your skills in that way.
Yeah, especially, for example, there is one course in particular with a name, Data Structures and Algorithms.
Essential.
Even if maybe your course wasn't exactly called that, but it was the course where you learn those sort of upper division data structure concepts, maybe through graphs and hash tables, things like that. If you don't have a CS degree on your resume, put that on there, because that's what recruiters are looking for to know you're ready to interview.
Now, another thing that's coming to mind as I think about, the thing that worries students who are in this position is, well, if I make it through the interview process, won't it be difficult for me to actually do the job?
Yes,
and I get hear that a lot.
Sure.
It's real. You even feel that way if you have a CS degree.
So true.
It's real, guys.
We can't help but compare ourselves, and listen, there are just humans out there whose brains think and code.
Just very good at it.
And they tend to be the type of people that come immediately to mind. That is a vast minority of the population, of the working population. And like I said, we have colleagues that are fabulous colleagues, some of the best coders I've ever encountered, whose brains don't work like that, or they don't have a technical degree, they learned it later. I think really where you might start to feel a little difference between a non-CS major and a CS major is actually when you get closer to the senior level. Like when we're starting to ask you to do architecture and systems design and distributed systems, things like that. And frankly, at that point, you can go get a master's if you really want to.
Yeah, if you really want to. And also keep in mind too, like I think that there is just, actually one thing that I will say about our industry is like, we are all looking for lifelong learners because because our industry is moving at such a fast pace. Like things are changing all the time. New technologies are being developed. I think that one thing that can be said about those of us doing computer science in the CS industry is you always have to be ready to learn.
Yes.
And so I think most companies, most managers kind of come in with this openness of like, hey, like whatever coworker we take on, whoever we're hiring at no matter what their level, right?
Yes.
Like entry level, mid, senior, that we know you guys are going to everyone has to take time ramping up no matter what your background is.
Yeah.
Like it's very rare that somebody is hired with the exact perfect background to do their job 110% on day one.
There's just too many technologies. They change too rapidly. And so schools can't keep up with the change in rapid technology, and it would be ridiculous. So a lot of companies know the language you're learning is Java or maybe C++ or Python. They're not expecting you to come out of school and like immediately know C# and .NET to work at Microsoft. Microsoft will know they need to train you.
And I think that's the advantage of, when you're a college student, again, even if you're not studying the CS degree, like people are very open to taking, non-traditional people with non-traditional CS backgrounds into these entry-level roles. I would say, there are quite a few pathways for that. And so I think that there's definitely an advantage, that you're still in college, you're wrapping up a degree, and you're like heading towards that path. Like I think, you're better suited than I would say someone who's like mid-career trying to make a switch, just because like from a company perspective, I think when they're thinking about recent college grads, there's just like an automatic assumption that you are somebody who's going to be moldable, more easily moldable.
Yeah. And don't necessarily think the fact that you're not a CS major is a negative. You don't want to just like be apologizing for it.
Right.
Again, because like we teach at a school where it's a competitive major. Some students are like, I'm sorry, I didn't get into CS, but I got into the other one. No. You got into a great major, you're at a great school, and you're bringing a unique perspective. Like, as an electrical engineering major, maybe I didn't have, more theory classes, but whenever I was talking to hiring managers, I'm like, I'm bringing the perspective of more hardware. I understand memory. Even if you have a non-technical major, you have a diversified life experience. And Kim's totally right. One of my favorite things about our industry is that we love the non-traditional. We love a misfit. And so whatever path you're on, it's more about how you sell the story of that path.
Selling that story, bros.
Than necessarily like checking the boxes that your academic advisor says are required to be a dev at Google.
Yeah. And don't underestimate the value of the soft skills. I mean, like, yes, that can be harder to evaluate for. And so often we are so obsessed in the interview process. I mean, we have a whole channel dedicated to evaluating the hard skills of like, can you code? Mm-hmm. But I mean, really, if you invest the amount of hours and you invest the time and you just practice, like you can get to a more than good enough level of the hard skills. And it's those soft skills that are going to come in and like round out your application and like very, very highly valued like in corporate America. So,
and I think that's actually one thing that's really hard for students to appreciate until you get into the industry. Again, there's a type of student whose brain seems to really align with this type of material, and they have the appearance of sailing through life. We know nothing's ever the same on the inside as the outside,
right?
But they tend to be a really notable majority, and a lot of times students will ask me like, oh, is that what everyone in industry is like? No, in fact, I will tell you actually, those people tend to actually struggle getting positions sometimes because the soft skills matter so much. Your ability to collaborate and communicate, to like talk through your process in a logical way, just like instantly understanding and being able to translate it to code. Yeah, it's helpful, but it's certainly not what's going to make you an ideal teammate. So be proud of what you're bringing to the table. You don't need a CS degree. You just need other ways to demonstrate that you're able to do the work.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? All right, guys. Hopefully you found that helpful. Stick around our channel if you need resources on software engineering interviews or the software engineering recruitment process. I'm Kim.
And I'm Kasey.
We got your back.